Hey Eagle fans, it's EaglefanKarl, and this is going to be my preview and prediction video for Sunday night's game against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm doing this a little early because I'm actually going to be away this weekend. I'll be out of town at a conference and actually flying out tomorrow, so I won't be able to post this up over the weekend, so I figured I'd just get it up there early and let you know what I think about the game. And I've really been racking my brain over this in terms of trying to figure out just how exactly the Eagles could lose this game, because if you look at the stats, there's really no reason they should. This Cowboys offense is just terrible, and I know they've got a decent defense, but if you look inside those numbers, I don't think they're that scary because a lot of their good yardage games, so to speak, were up against some pretty bad quarterbacks. So it's really, I don't think if you really look inside the numbers, it's that impressive. When you look at their offense, they've really got some scary numbers when you really look at it. They're 27th in overall offense, and they're 26th in scoring. They're 29th in terms of their passing offense, and it's understandable when you look at their sack total. That's because they've given up the 27th, they're 27th in the league in giving up sacks. And they're also 28th in offense on third down completion percentage. So really, all across the board, they are really not in a good situation. The only area where they're decent and they have excelled is, no surprise, with Ezekiel Elliott. They have been able to run the ball very well, which they are 6th in the league at running the ball. However, that really, I think, speaks to where the problem the Cowboys have with beating us in this game. It's because that's the one strength we have on defense. We are 2nd in the league in rushing defense. We've struggled in some of the other areas, but the one area we have excelled is in stopping the run. And it looks like possibly maybe Tim Jernigan comes back this week. And if that's the case, that's only going to help that even more. So I think really if you start to look at it, there's really no way from a numbers standpoint that the Eagles should lose this game. On the flip side, it's not really much better because their defense has some very bizarre stats. They have a decent defense, but if you look at some of the stats within that, it really starts making you question and really start to sort of shake your head and try and figure out exactly what's going on here. That's because if you look at their defense, they're 4th in overall defense in terms of yardage, they're 5th in passing yards, they're 10th in rushing yards, and they're 3rd in scoring. So all those numbers look really good. But then when you look inside some other things within that, that's where I said you really start to scratch your head. And that's because they're 29th in the league in surrendering in what they give up in terms of third down percentage completions. Opponents' passer ratings is 27th in the league in terms of what the opponent's quarterback rating. They're the 27th ranked defense in terms of that. That tells me a good quarterback can take advantage of this defense, and I think that's what you've seen in terms of what they've done this year. They've struggled against teams with good quarterbacks. And if you look inside, really the numbers, like I said, in terms of the quarterbacks they've played, the quarterbacks that they've beaten this year, Blake Bortles, Eli Manning, who, let's face it, at this point I think in his career he's washed up. The best quarterback they've beat is Matthew Stafford. But they've gotten torched by guys like Deshaun Watson. So I really think that if you look at some of the numbers, their defense, I think, is a little bit suspect and sort of a factor of who they've really played in these games. Like I said, I think a good quarterback can take advantage of this defense and really make them pay. And that's only compounded when you look at the fact that Sean Lee, no big surprise, is hurt again. So I think when you put all of that together, you're really sort of in a situation where the Eagles have no reason they should lose this game. And a lot of the reasons I say that is because of the quarterback situation. Prescott has shown that I think without the weapons he had in year one and the offensive line he had in year one of his year, I think he has really regressed. I remember the rookie years of both Dak and Carson arguing with Cowboy fans on Twitter, even on this channel, about the fact that, who was the better quarterback, and Cowboys fans were convinced that Prescott was. But, my always argument was, if you were playing behind that offensive line with all the weapons that he had his rookie year, a lot of quarterbacks were going to succeed. And that's certainly, I think, what it was. And Wentz has shown that he can succeed with and without the weapons, and his level of play is just so much higher, I think, than Dak Prescott's. So from that standpoint, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to take advantage of this. Another thing to think about when you're talking about Wentz in terms of where he is right now, A stat that sort of blew me away when I heard it this week, and I did the research to confirm this. If you look at quarterbacks, who currently holds the NFL record for consecutive games with at least one touchdown pass, but one or fewer interceptions per game, and that is right now, it is tied between Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan at 21 games. And Matt Ryan's streak obviously is over, so Carson Wentz has the ability on Sunday night to break that record. If he throws at least one touchdown and does not throw more than one interception, he will break that record and will hold that all to himself in terms of consecutive games with at least one touchdown pass and one or fewer interceptions. And that's really sort of an amazing stat with all the good quarterbacks that have played in this league over the years, especially recently with the way this league has gotten, that 21 is the record and has an ability to be broken. I think that says a lot because, you know, I like to talk a lot about the streaks that Carson has had as it relates to his touchdown passes, but an equally important stat when you're talking about quarterbacks is interceptions and limiting turnovers and limiting interceptions because fumbles sometimes can be outside the quarterback's control in terms of, you know, getting hit from the blind side and all that kind of stuff. So the fumbles are a little bit more outside of the quarterback's control, but interceptions generally are more on the quarterback unless the ball's tipped. Generally, it's a ball thrown in a situation where it shouldn't have been thrown or thrown into coverage it shouldn't have been thrown. If you watched the game Monday night with Dak Prescott against the Titans, you saw that. He was making throws that he had no business throwing, and Carson has, for the most part, avoided a lot of those situations. He's had some hiccups at Burnham against the Jaguars in the one interception he did have where it was a ball he shouldn't have thrown, but for the most part, he has avoided those types of situations. Which brings me to the one thing that I think would cause the Eagles to lose this game, and that's the turnover battle, and that's one area we have been struggling with this year. Once again, those are the turnover differentials for both these teams, and the Cowboys, that's one area where they have been better than the Eagles. It's been in the turnover differential. So if the Eagles can limit turnovers and not turn the ball over, I don't see how the Eagles lose this game. The only other possibility is just the way the NFL goes. The Cowboys might be a desperate team, being 3-5, don't want to fall to 3-6 with a loss, with a second loss in the division. So they might be sort of in a desperation mode. But that being said, the opposite could also be true where they end up sort of quitting on this game if the Eagles get into any sort of a lead early and they end up sort of quitting, because I think the writing might be on the wall as it relates to Jason Garrett. So for all those reasons, I don't see how the Eagles lose this game unless they just completely blow it themselves. For that reason, I actually see a relatively easy win in this thing. My prediction for a score is going to be Eagles 27, Cowboys 10. Like I said, that's a 17-point win. I don't see how we end up losing this game, and I think we'll win it relatively easily as well. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments below. Obviously, I'll try and check in after the game. Like I said, I'll be out of town, so might be a little hard to do it, but I'll try and see if I can get a video up while I'm away. In the meantime, fly Eagles fly.